Hi, good evening. My name is Trupti. I'm director of a social enterprise called Deep Black. I'm a art psychotherapist, a facilitator working with photography, and a shadow work facilitator. So today I'm going to talk about some of our work using photography to enable the perspectives of children in alternative provision. So Deep Black has been going for 14 years. We work with creativity to consider social change, and we work with a range of creative tools. So my background is as a filmmaker. I used to make documentaries. Um, so filmmaking is really popular. Photography is really popular, as is art, poetry, coaching, theatre, body movement, and many, many more. In fact, we will try and use whatever creativity appeals to the young people we're working with and whatever the skills in the team are. We know that creativity offers a non-judgmental approach. It allows us to be able to consider different perspectives. It allows us to have an inside-out approach. So it means that I can begin with me, think about how my views are, what my position is, what my perspective is, before thinking about somebody else. And that's really important. Creativity allows our young people to have agency in their work, to have self-expression, and to have opportunities in which to succeed. We know that many of our young people haven't had huge and vast opportunities in which to succeed in. And so we believe that creativity offers an opportunity for all young people to succeed and to challenge narratives about success and about failure. So we're based in Haringey in inner city London. It's in the northeast of the city, and it's a very urban environment. There are high levels of socioeconomic deprivation. Our young people experience high levels of violence, including knife crime, and there are high rates of mental illness. It's actually very similar in many ways to where I grew up. I grew up in Newham, which is further east of London, and it feels very familiar to me in many ways. There's the rough and tumble, which I really enjoy um, about Haringey, and the knowledge that I might bump into somebody from anywhere. It's a hugely mixed place to work. So I'd like to begin by speaking about photographing feelings, and that's a project which Deep Black devised, and I ran the very first iteration of photographing feelings in 2018. So this project, Photographing Feelings Nature, was our first piece of work in alternative provision, and and it was a really interesting piece of work. It's always very structured, so it's a 6-week program, and we invite a combination of skills in photography while also supporting young people to find their own expressions, um, and to develop a language around emotional literacy. So we often, the children that we work with sometimes don't have a language for describing how they're feeling. And so we want to support them to develop that language, but also to use the images in order to provide metaphors for their inner world. So photographing feelings nature came about because we were really interested in how we might be able to contribute to the conversation about climate change and the eco-crisis. We'd begun to explore our work and wondered what we might be able to do in order to contribute meaningfully in this work. We wondered also what climate change looks like from the perspectives of children living in cities. and in urban communities. And we wanted to have our children who told us over and over again that the climate was an issue that they cared about. And so we wanted to give them a space in order that they might express themselves on this issue. So it was the first project we did with Haringey Learning Partnership, and we continue to work with them even as recently as this week. Each project, each photography project that we undertake culminates in an exhibition. And we know that exhibitions are a really powerful way to engage the community. We can raise awareness about the experiences of our young people. And while we know it's nerve-wracking for our young people to have their work be witnessed and seen by other people, we also know that it can contribute significantly to how they might feel about themselves and how they might perceive what their abilities are in terms of making images. So this piece of work was commissioned by the Child Safeguarding Practice Review Panel, and it was for their national conference. And what we really wanted to do was to encourage young people to take images, to think about their experiences of safety and risk in order that it might support the adults at this conference to have more qualitative conversations and create emotional connections. And I found the images that young people made deeply moving. So Josiah's image of a swing, I find really sad. To know that already by the age of 15, he's already worked out that there are some people that he really can't trust, and these are people who are wanting to help him. A beautiful image, and yeah, offering a perspective that this young person is far more aware of the risk in her life than possibly she's given credit for, and that it's something that she has learned and has had to learn how to navigate. And I really love this image, which speaks to me so beautifully of difference. So this final piece, which I'm going to share some images from, is a piece of work that had a slightly different kind of had a different need, in that what it was wanting to do was for young people to use photography as a way to respond to research. And there's a great deal of data. There was a really thorough research project looking at what stop and search is like from the perspective of young people. And so starting to think about stop and search from a safeguarding position. And so what we did was we asked young people to find ways and offered them prompt questions to respond to the research. And so this first question was, how might you feel if you were stopped and searched by the police? Very simple and yet effective image. And this image was made by a member of staff, and I found it really, really fascinating that although he had been stopped as a child many, many, many years ago, the memories and the trauma of that experience and the fear that he had felt at that moment was still with him. And it wasn't something that he'd ever forgotten, this experience. and it kind of marked his experience of being around the police. So really interesting and really powerful images, and there are so many more, and I wish there was time to share many more with you. However, I'd really like to conclude by thinking a little bit about impact. And so this, as I began speaking, I talked about our partnership work, and we work very closely with an incredible organisation called Haringey Learning Partnership, which is a consortium of schools that offer alternative education. And I feel really proud that some of our work supports some of their work. Impact is really difficult to measure when we think about photography, and it's really challenging for us to be able to show and demonstrate and evidence what we do and why it matters. And so I hope that we can continue to gather data, to gather research, and to gather the evidence that shows why photography is such an important tool for supporting children with complex needs. And perhaps it offers a way to celebrate their resilience. I hope that our work, working with photography, can support these young people as they go forward. Thank you so much for your time. And if you'd like to get in touch, you can find me at deepblack.org.uk or email me at trupti@deepblack.org.uk. Thank you.